Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. For those of you who are new here, my name is Amber. For today's video, we're going to be talking about January's wrap-up and February's TBR. I don't know how we're in 2024 already, but I'm going to be talking about the books for January in order. So starting off, I read Ruthless Vows by Rebecca Ross. This is the second book in the Letters of Enchantment series. I ended up giving this a 4.5 star. I absolutely loved it. I thought it was a really good wrap up to Iris and Roman's story. I loved everything that happened in here, a lot going on. It didn't feel like there were any boring moments. I fell in love with this world and these two characters in the first book, and the second one did not disappoint. So 4.5 stars. Next, I listened to A Court of Thorns and Roses, the part 1 dramatized audio, and I ended up giving this 4 stars. I really enjoyed the dramatized audio version. I thought it added a lot to the story, so if you love that series and you haven't listened to these, I definitely recommend them because they are really good. I loved them. It kind of feels more, what's the word I'm looking for? More immersive this way. You have background music, background noise. Every character has their own voice actor. The Surreal and the Adder and even all of those side characters get their own sound and voice. Really enjoyed it. Absolutely loved it. Highly recommend. Next, I read House of Sky and Breath by Sarah J. Maas. This is the second book in the Crescent City series, and I waited to read this until this past month so that I could have my first read very close to the release of House of Flame and Shadow, and I'm really glad that I did that, honestly. I don't know if I would have done that with it being the first book. I'm glad I read that when I did because that one was a lot of world building. I was honestly confused for the first half of the book. I had a really hard time getting into it because of it. And it was just such an odd transition from what I was used to reading from her. Being set in a world that's more modern was definitely kind of off-putting at first. But I ended up giving this 4.5 stars. This book made me fall in love with the series. The first one, I gave it a 4 stars and I liked it, but I just didn't really feel any pull towards the characters. I liked Hunt and Bryce, but I just didn't really feel any big pull towards any of the characters. I didn't really feel sucked into the world. I just didn't really care. It was good, but that was it. But this one, I was nervous because I didn't really like Rune's character in the first one, and I knew this one talked a lot more about him. And so I was a little skeptical going into this. I wasn't sure if I really was going to care for it, but this one definitely changed my mind on the series, made me enjoy it a lot more. And House of Flame and Shadow has fully sucked me into this world. I love these characters. I'm going to say it, there's not a single series that I think she will write that I won't like. Next, I read For the Wolf by Hannah Witten. And this one, I gave a 4.25 stars. I really enjoyed this book. I actually have this in a reading vlog, so I'm going to keep this fairly short. This is a Little Red Riding Hood retelling, and it's a very good retelling. It's got more dark, eerie, gothic atmosphere to it. The atmosphere is very reminiscent on One Dark Window, so if you enjoyed that, this would be a good pickup for you. Like I said in the other video, this has such a good and unique twist on Little Red Riding Hood, and there's so many things in here that I would have never thought to ever even put together with this. So, highly recommend this. I really enjoyed this. Very soon, I want to pick up the second book to this, which is For the Throne. Highly recommend. Next up, I read Glint, which is the second book in the Plated Prisoner series. I ended up giving this 3.75 stars. I enjoyed this, and it definitely gave redemption to the first book. I really didn't care for the first book. I think I gave that a 3 stars because it wasn't that I disliked the book. I just didn't overly like it. It was just okay. I didn't like the main character very much at all. This one gives you a ton more background as to why she was the way she was. And the first 40% of the book she still was bugging me, but after I got that background, it changed my perspective on her, made me enjoy it a lot more. I liked the new characters that were introduced, and I definitely see the hype behind the series. This book has changed my mind on it and has made me excited to keep going. There's a plot twist in here that I really didn't see coming, so... Next up, I listened to the second part in the A Court of Thorns and Roses dramatized audio. This one I gave 4.5 stars. Again, I love the dramatized audio. I started rereading A Court of Mist and Fury, but I am teetering towards listening to the audio. I don't know. I'm really torn because that's like my favorite one, and I really like looking at all of my annotations in the first one. Anyway, we're getting sidetracked. Moving back to this, I really enjoy it. The only thing that I don't really care for in these dramatized audios, and I need to know why, the winnowing sound. I need to know who picked the sound for that. I need to know, because it straight up sounds like a fart. And I don't understand. Like, I would imagine it to really not have a sound. But if they were gonna give it a sound, I really wish they would have just gave it, like, maybe, like, a wind, like, whooshing sound. The sound they picked sounds like a straight up fart. Anyway, that's the only part that I don't like about the traumatized audio. And it slightly takes away because it makes me laugh every time I hear it. Like, it's funny. But, like, it kind of takes away from when they're being serious and they're talking and then one of them disappears and you just hear that in the background. I don't know. Anyway, 4.5 stars for that because it's really good. Then I finally picked up Powerless by Lauren Roberts. I didn't like this as much as I thought I would. And my only gripe about it, and that this could just be me being in like a bad mood and being nitpicky, but it just really reminded me of the Hunger Games, like, a lot. And I don't know. I couldn't tell you, like, thinking back on, like, when I was actually reading it, I couldn't tell you the things that made me feel that way. But it did. Towards the end, I started getting a different feeling towards it, but the tension in this book, though, holy crap. If you want a slow burn, and I'm talking slow burn with tension, this is definitely YA. There's nothing explicit in this. This is truly slow burn YA. But, like, it's good. That's not a negative thing. I'm not saying that in a negative way. This is good. I highly recommend it. I just didn't enjoy it as much as I thought. I thought this was going to be a 5-star for me. Through and through, I wholeheartedly picking this up, I thought it was going to be a 5-star. I ended up giving it 4.5 stars, so we're not saying anything bad about that. That's not a negative thing either. It just didn't quite hit that 5-star mark for me. I still really enjoyed it. I still would highly recommend it. So those were all 7 of the books that I read. And I did stick, aside from the A Court of Thorns and Roses, but that was my audiobook, so I just don't count those as straying from it. I did stick pretty well to my TBR. I didn't read any physical books that weren't on my TBR. The only books, so we had House of Sky and Breath, For the Wolf, Glint, and Powerless. Those were all on my TBR. The ones that I didn't get to was Promises and Pomegranates, When Stars Come Out, and Assistant to the Villain. So that's progress. I pretty much only stuck to this with the exception of the audiobooks, which is fine. Which is fine because I'm trying not to... I had credits and I had already bought those a long time ago and just never ended up listening to them. So they were ones that I already owned. I'm trying not to buy new books, with the exception of like new releases. I will get those. But I'm trying not to go and buy books because I want to get through my physical TBR. So all of these were all my physical books and I did good. I'm proud of myself for sticking more to it. But anyway, with that out of the way, let's get into using our TBR jar to pick our February reads, which I am in the middle of House of Flame and Shadow. I'm 50% of the way through now. So that one is obviously going to be a February pick. We have all these. I have a couple over here. And then, for the most part, my bookshelf behind me, I made it where it's just books that I've read, with the exception of some of these. So we still have a lot to go on the physical TBR. So we're going to stick to that as much as possible. First one. A book with a one-word title. Okay, we have 4 to pick from. We have Hooked by Emily McIntyre. Malice by John Gwynne. Circe by Madeline Miller, or Ledge by Stacey McEwen. I think I'm torn. I'm really not ready to get into Malice. I'm reading House of Flame and Shadow. Like, I'm really not ready to get into another chunky book. So I think I'm leaning more towards Hooked or Ledge. I think I'm going to go with Ledge because I've had this one for a while and I have really been wanting to get to it. And the cover definitely reminds me a lot of winter, so I feel like now's my chance to get this. So I think we're going to pick Ledge for that one. A dark romance book. So for this one I have Hooked by Emily McIntyre, Promises and Pomegranates by Savar Miller, or A Touch of Darkness by Scarlett St. Clair. I think I'm going to go with Promises and Pomegranates. Because I had this on my TBR last month and I didn't get to it. So I think we'll add that to it again. Yeah, we're going to. So Promises and Pomegranates by Savar Miller, which I think that's the same prompt that I got last month. And I picked that book for that prompt. I could be wrong. Anyway. A book in a new series. And by a new series, I mean new to me. Like one that I haven't started yet. I'm doing it. I'm picking Kingdom of the Wicked because I've been talking about reading this book for like 6 or 7 months and I still haven't done it. So, this is the month. A book with a number in the title. So our options for this is 3 Dark Crowns by Kendare Blake. Then we have One for My Enemy by Olivia Blake. The Fifth Season by N.K. Jemisin. It Happened One Summer, which honestly I'm just going to put this back because it's not summer. I can't bring myself to read that. Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. And The Only One Left by Riley Sager. I'm really leaning towards One for My Enemy or The Only One Left. I think I'm going to pick The Only One Left to kind of switch it up because I've been reading a lot of fantasy lately. And I know that that's like set in New York, but it's witches and stuff, so it still gives fantasy vibes. So I think we're going to pick our first Riley Sager book because I have not read one by them and I really want to. And I need to just switch it up. I need to stop sticking to the same genre every time. So this is the winner for a book with a number in the title. Okay, so we have 4. We'll do 2 more. A book with a place in the title. I really don't have like any choices for this. I only have the London Sand Society and Starling House. And I mean, I guess we'll go with the London Sand Society because like this is a house, but like this actually has a place in it. So I think we'll go with this. Okay. Last one. A book with a white cover. We're going with ones that are either a majority white or like close to white, so like a cream or beige color. So our options are An Ember in the Ashes by Saba Tahir, The Shadow of the Gods by John Gwynne, The Shadow in the Glass by J.J.A. Harwood. The Perfect Marriage by Geneva Rose. A Fragile Enchantment by Allison Saft. Malice by John Gwynne. The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. Or The Curse of Saints by Kate Dramas. I think I'm going to pick The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang because I have really been wanting to get to this book. I've had this book on my TBR, I want to say, for like 2 years now. I think this might be one of like the first book hauls I ever got since starting to read again. So yeah, we're going to pick that one. Now, recap. A book with a one-word title is Ledge by Stacey McEwen. So this one is about a community that lives like in the mountain on the cliffside, and the only way to get out is basically death. It's a giant drop off the cliff face, and every single season they have to put themselves up as like human sacrifices to this race called the Glacians, and they are a group of winged creatures that live beyond the ledge. Dawson is an axe wielder, and she's the only remaining member of her family, and she has avoided being picked every single season, except this year she has gotten picked. But then she meets Ryan, which is a half Glacian, and he offers to help her escape from this, but she doesn't know if she can trust him because he is half of the exact thing that has always plagued her life. So this sounds interesting, and I'm really excited to get to this. I always forget that I even have it on my TBR until I actually sit down and look at it, and then I reread the synopsis, and it makes me want to read it all over again. So I'm glad that I picked that one. Then for our dark romance, I picked Promises and Pomegranates by Savor Miller. This is the first book in the Monsters and Muses. Is it a duet or a series? I don't really know how many books are in this, but anyway, this one is a Hades and Persephone's retelling. I'm just going to read this because this is just too hard for my brain to do this. So this says, to most, Cal Anderson is a villain, harbinger of death, keeper of souls, frequenter of nightmares, Dr. Death, Hades incarnate. They say he stole me, usurped my fiancé, and filled the cracks in my heart with empty promises. Imprinted his crimson fingerprints on my psyche and tried to set me free. They're not wrong per se, except it was my choice to stay. To most, Elena Ricky is an innocent, goddess of springtime, lover of poetry, angel of my nightmares, little one, Persephone personified. They say I ruined her, shattered her virtue, and devoured her soul like a succulent pomegranate. Embedded my evil as deep as I could possibly get and tried to set her free. They're not wrong per se, except it was she who ruined me. Also, I think this one is Kindle. I think this is Kindle Unlimited. Don't quote me on that, I could be wrong. Then we have a book in a new series, which is a new series to me, and that's going to be Kingdom of the Wicked by Carrie Maniscalco. I've been wanting to read this for like 6 or 7 months straight. And every month I say I'm going to read it, and then I never do. So I'm going to hold myself accountable and get to this one finally. And this is Two Sisters, One Brutal Murder, a quest for vengeance that will unleash hell itself, and an intoxicating romance. Amelia and her twin sister Vittoria are Strag, witches who live secretly among humans, avoiding notice and persecution. One night, Vittoria misses dinner service at the family's renowned restaurant in Sicily. Amelia soon finds the body of her beloved twin, desecrated beyond belief. Devastated, Amelia sets out to find her sister's killer and to seek vengeance at any cost, even if it means using dark magic that's been long forbidden. Then, Amelia meets Wrath, one of the wicked, who are princes of hell she has been warned against in tales since she was a child. Wrath claims to be on Amelia's side, tasked by his master with solving a series of women's murder on the island. But when it comes to the wicked, nothing is as it seems. Then we have a book with a number in the title, which we're going with The Only One Left by Riley Sager. And this is about a woman who is thought to have killed her whole entire family. She was the only survivor. And after a series of strokes, she no longer can talk. So we have a woman who's coming in to be her house nurse after the last one mysteriously left in the middle of the night. And the main woman, Lenora, who is thought to have killed her family, starts typing out to her new house nurse, which is Kit, and she says that she's finally ready to tell the story of everything that happened. And as she's typing this out, it comes to light that maybe people don't know the whole story and all the things that led up to this family's murder, but it's also coming into light that maybe Lenora isn't as harmless as she seems, and there's probably a reason that the last nurse left randomly in the middle of the night. I've heard really good things on this one, and I'm excited to get to this, and I'm excited just to kind of switch it up and get out of fantasy. As much as I love fantasy, it's like the main thing that I read. Sometimes I just need that refresh out of fantasy. Next up is a book with a white cover, and we are picking The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. This is the first book in the Poppy War trilogy. So this one, you are following Rin, who is an orphan war child, and she ends up taking the test to see if she can get into the academies for the most talented youths, and it's a surprise to her and honestly everybody else that she ends up getting in. She ends up getting into the most elite military school, but because of her darker skin tone, her being a peasant and her being a female, she starts getting targeted by rival students. And after being driven to desperation, she ends up realizing that she has these powers that are basically considered to be like mythical shamans. And after a teacher starts helping her, she ends up realizing that the gods that they thought to have been long dead and gone are very much still alive. And learning these powers means more than just passing this school, because even though they are at peace now, they are on the brink of having a third Poppy War. I'm intrigued. I always hear wonderful things about this book, this series. Can't wait to finally get into it. And last but not least, we have a book with a place in the title, which I am picking The London Seance Society by Sarah Penner. I'm not gonna lie, this is gonna be like the last one I get to if I manage to end up reading all 7 books this month, because this one just gives me high Halloween fall vibes, so I'm not really super looking forward to this one this month, so this will probably be the last one I get to if I get through all these. And this one is set in Victorian London in 1873, and this says, at an abandoned chateau on the outskirts of Paris, a dark seance is about to take place, led by acclaimed spiritualist Vaudeline Delaire, known worldwide for her talent in conjuring the spirits of murder victims to ascertain the identities of the people who killed them. She is highly sought after by widows and investigators alike. Lena Wicks has come to Paris to find answers about her sister's death, but to do so, she must embrace the unknown and overcome her own logic-driven bias against the occult. When Vaudeline is beckoned to England to solve a high-profile murder, Lena accompanies her as an understudy. But as the women team up with the powerful men of London's exclusive seance society to solve the mystery, they begin to suspect that they are not merely out to solve a crime, but perhaps entangle in one themselves. So again, it sounds really good, but this is something that I feel like I would prefer to read more in the fall time. That is all I have for you with the January wrap-up and February TBR. We did good with January. I'm hoping to do better with February. If you made it this far, please leave the little book stack emoji. That seems like a good one, if you don't know what else to say. Also, what books are you really looking forward to this month? I know that there's a couple books coming out. I think really the only one that I had my eye on, which I don't know if I'll pick that up. I'm not adding it to my TBR this month, but it was Bride by Ali Hazelwood. I saw someone, and I don't remember who it was, but I saw somebody talking about this book and saying how much they were enjoying it. But it's definitely like not a normal book that Ali Hazelwood would write. It's like, I believe it's got werewolves in it, if I remember correctly. It's like a werewolf romance instead of just normal contemporary. But anyway, so that's what I have my eye on, but I don't have any plans to pick it up this month in particular. But anyway, let me know down in the comments what you are looking forward to picking up, what your plans for reading are this month, and what books you read this past month. Any that you really enjoyed. I'd love to add more to my TBR when I finally allow myself to buy more books. But anyway, yeah, that's all I have for you. Thank you so much for watching. If you made it this far, make sure to leave a thumbs up. It helps with my videos tremendously. And make sure to subscribe to stay up to date with all my future content. I try and make sure to upload every Saturday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. I hope to see you in the next one. Bye!